Hi, my name is Matt Umbro, and we're joining you live from Hero Conference 2015 in Portland, Oregon. Today we're going to have a live PPC chat session with some of the most popular PPC chatters out there, including Aaron Levy, I believe SEM, Christy Olson, appointed, Kurt Williams out of Zato Marketing, and Joe Martinez from Top Floor. So all of these gracious participants have agreed to talk PPC about the state of the industry today. And we'll get started about what we found or what we're seeing at the conference this week and how we feel about the industry as a whole. So, Aaron, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it's been kind of interesting. This is actually my fourth Hero Conf. I'm one of the few that have been to all of them. Going to the 5-pack next year. What's probably been the most—
Like Tom Brady's 5 rings.
Oh, don't get me started, man. It's early.
Got had to do it.
Yeah, I know.
You need like 30 seconds.
So sorry, continue.
No, so this is my fourth one. It's definitely evolved over the years. I'd say the industry is very healthy. There's 800 odd people here, and there's a ton that I haven't seen at any of the Hero conferences. But what's probably the most interesting to me is that the first day, I don't think I saw a single presentation about keywords. Every single presentation was about ads or social or structuring accounts so that Google can figure it out a little bit better. But I haven't seen a single thing about keywords. What do you guys think? Are keywords going away? Are we going to be in like a feed-based world now?
No, yeah.
I think the answer is please, Lord, no.
Well, I think even through, because I do partially some SEO stuff too, but everyone was worried about the Siri and the voice search and all these really long tail keywords, and I'm not seeing any value in all these long tail search terms anymore. That all that stuff is hype. I'm still seeing a lot of the 2 or 3 type keyword messages and not really having to go after a bunch of keywords. We're just focusing on your core ones and then slowly building upon those is what's really working.
What's interesting is to think that when we all first began in paid search, it was kind of common practice to create all the different variations of keywords and phrase match, exact match, where you'd have something like 200,000 keywords in your account. But now it's,
10 products.
Exactly. Now it's a lot more toward efficiency. And we have modified broad match and we have the exact match. So it's definitely moving a lot toward, it's kind of simpler keywords. And Kirk, I'll go to you on this, fee-based attribution and audience targeting.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Google Shopping, that's already here, right? There's no keywords, and as much as I kind of want that, yeah, I think there are ways that you could use keywords to really focus specific products in that, but I just don't think that's going to happen, and that might be a sign of things to come in other channels as well.
And you have DSA.
Yep.
DSA is already sort of keywordless, so you're already going in that trend. I just hope it's not one thing fully embrace yet. Tell them where you're trying to retire.
Well,
Give me to live 15
no,
years.
no,
20 years.
Well, Christy, one thing I wanted to ask you was, you and Steve Hammer are doing a session on scripts today, so that's definitely another thing within the industry that has really sprouted up over the past couple of years. So what do you think about scripts as a whole and how they're coming into the industry?
So I think they're underutilized. I think you talked a lot about dynamic ads and like the ad customizers and dynamic components. People see the value in them, but for some reason it just hasn't taken off. And I see the same thing with scripts. There's a lot of value in scripts in the sense of you can automate a lot of those smaller tasks, things that you might not want to have your team spend 20 hours a month working on pulling data out of a system, that you can use scripts to automate some of those little things so you can be more strategic and you spend your time doing something that actually matters, not pulling data. And I think what I'm hoping people take away from my session is that it is a little scary. It's a foreign language. It's JavaScript. I'm not a coder, but I've been playing with it enough for the last 6 months. I can now edit the pre-written scripts, and I'm starting to tweak them to the format I need so that my team isn't spending time with reports and is spending time actually editing keyword accounts or keywords.
So the next question I want to go to, and Joe, we'll start with you on this one. Excuse me. Aaron mentioned that there are a lot of new faces at Hero Conference this year. What would your feedback / advice be for entry-level PPC professionals entering the industry, really where they should focus and what's going to be important as they enter the industry?
I am still a big pusher of conversion rate optimization, having your website be the main experience. So we can do all the work in AdWords as we can, but if you're sending people to a horrible experience on your website, all the wonderful high click-through rates that you have mean absolutely nothing. So it's really looking forward to the words that you're targeting. Does that experience relate to your website at all? Can people connect the entire circle? And if you don't have the base of your website that make your successful campaigns work, then it's absolutely pointless then.
I think that's in a good way been changing as well. You know, more people are starting to see more. There's more client side as well, and not just agency side. What keywords do we do? What can we do in these little ad tests and stuff? But there's more and more of this, like, hey, there's a responsibility on that side as well, and we need to make sure that that's being answered, which is almost, it gets tied into that state of the search question before as well, that I think is going to be.
What I would say though is, we get a lot of young people appointed to come in and start working with us, and it's training them up with the basics so they have the fundamentals and they build that base set of knowledge across paid search so that as they grow in their career, they understand why campaign structure, architecture, match types, why they all work together. And I love the conversion rate optimization side, but just making sure they understand search as a whole, and then teach them about SEO, teach them what happens on the page when they get on the page, have them have a solid understanding of display and what display goes in from the funnel. And so it's not just the new side of search, it's getting to understand how do all the different digital channels tie together so that you can have a user experience that's great and focus on the user, not on you.
Well, it's about that whole digital marketing experience as well.
Yeah, I would echo Christy. I was lucky enough in the start of my career to be thrown into a cross-channel role. So I worked in email and affiliate and display and search and SEO. So I understood how they all interacted together. And I think that there's too many people on pay, both as junior and seniors, that are just like, nope, I'm in this silo, I'm going this way, but that's just a little teeny tiny part. I think the other thing that's almost criminal is that schools still don't even consider teaching
That's a
it.
good point.
I work with University of Drexel and University of Vermont to put things together, but I'm trying to work with a lot of other universities, and they're just like, it doesn't really fit into our structure. It's a little bit too new. It's too new. Like literally everyone here is hiring. What do you mean it's too new? So I would like to see more people in the industry like focus less speaking on conferences, which are still awesome, but more speaking at schools and universities and getting more kids at least exposed to it to start.
Well, it's really the new trend. I mean, even though the online marketing as a whole is a relatively young industry, I think there are now a point where, there are 10-year veterans in the industry, and it's time for schools to kind of recognize that this is something that's viable as a career. And there's quite simply, there's a lot of money that's both being spent and being paid in salary. So it's something that needs to be addressed. One thing that I want to hit on as well, and we've talked about it with all the new features, but I think that the core of paid search is still relevance, and I think that gets lost. So the way I always describe it is you want to make sure that the query someone types in is matching to the right keyword that you're bidding on in the right match type, whether it's exact or you're reaching out with modified broad. Then making sure your ad copy speaks exactly to that keyword, including an offer and call to action. The landing page speaks to that ad, and then ultimately landing page conversion. So at the end of the day, to me, it's still about relevance and making sure that all of those factors come into play.
Although we all are.
I want to make sure that. Well, we've seen it in some of these sessions already where we've seen examples where that relevance wasn't throughout, and it leads to bounces and not converting, ultimately not getting goals. So it's so important.
One other outside of the box thing I'd say is you need to be able to read well, I think.
And right.
You need to be able to write, yeah. But especially for new PPCers coming in, there's so much information out there. And I think we're starting the approach where, I don't know, I feel like that. We get so much good articles, and I feel sometimes like my reading level decreases, but I think if you're able to read well and take it in and then move on to the next one, get a couple of actionable insights or something, that's extremely valuable because there is a lot of information out there. You just need to know what to do with it, where to find it, and where to find it.
But you guys bring up an interesting point, because with all this information, how do you differentiate what's good and, quite frankly, what's junk?
I think we just had this on PPC chat a few weeks back.
Right. Yeah.
I
Part two.
Like, I think we had this like 2 weeks ago.
Well, go ahead.
I mean, well, there's a saying that there's no new ideas. I learned in a sales presentation that the acronym CASE, you copy and feel everything, which really literally every idea that we have is stolen in some way or another from direct mail back in the day. It's stolen from magazines to billboards and displays some way or another. So, I mean, in theory, there's going to be a lot of noise and a lot of repetition, and that's okay because then more people get exposed to it. So as much as I'm sure you would love to hear it, like not everyone in the industry probably reads BBC Hero every day. Get to work, Matt.
Well, and we'll plug that really quickly, both PPC Chat and PPC Hero. So ppcchat.co and ppchero.com.
Still haven't bought the .com yet.
No, the domain is very expensive. So,
Well, of course it is now.
yeah.
I would actually pitch something on the Steal Everything, Neptune Moon, so Julie Bikini, during that conversation about how do you know what to trust, is not just looking at what type of content they published in the past and do they have data that makes sense on the back end. Because one of the issues I have with a lot of the different articles that I read is, did they manipulate the data to tell the story they wanted to tell, or did they use the data to actually tell the story that was being told? Because it's really, I've seen quite a few articles out there where people were publishing to a very specific, they had an end goal in mind when they started the research, and they made their data hit that. And I know Julie had a lot of really great tweets about what she looks for and the type of content, the frequency of the posts. Are they calling out their data? And then is the data referenced in a way that actually makes you believe and trust that they knew what they were talking about and they weren't just doing a fluff propaganda piece based to get more likes or shares, tweets?
I try to look at, inside of a blog, because we all work with different industries and different verticals. So a lot of the blogs that we read might really not be the same type of clientele that I deal with, but I look at what was the logic that this author was using? What was the reasoning behind the decisions that they're making, and how can I apply that to the work I'm doing? So not necessarily looking at the exact tactics in order, but just their mindset of why they did it, almost like a hypothesis like you're in high school science class, the educated guess, and that's the reason why we're always testing. And those are the blogs that I usually go back to and read.
I'll tell you what makes me a little wary, which is going to be contrarian to everything you've ever heard about blogging, but I'm really wary of people who post on like a set schedule. People who post every single Tuesday, they're not inspired every single Monday. So like, are they writing a blog post when it's done or when it's due? So
Well, that's a great point, and it's something that I think we. Well, I don't understand that. My personal feeling is that everyone who blogs should have a strong passion for it. But and unfortunately, that's not always the case. So I think the notion is that you have to make sure that for those people writing blogs and writing on a set schedule, that they're inspired enough and they have good ideas to write about that are new, and or at least copied somewhere.
And I keep track as I'm going, and someone says something, I'm like, that sounds really interesting.
Right.
Like I have a list where I'm keeping track of that stuff. So it kind of is what I'm passionate about, but I'm making a mental note. And then when my time, comes to the blog, then I'm like, hey, look back at that list, and sometimes some of those things have switched around in order of importance, but I find that it's pretty easy to get excited about them.
I was going to say, I can't tell you how many times I've written blog posts based upon client communication. There's some sort of item I've noticed in an AdWords account.
Well, I think I've asked you this question on direct messages multiple times because you do blog prolifically. You see you're out there all the time. So how long does it take for you to write the blog post? Because what I'm wondering is, do you you have 10 ideas and you're getting the data, and so you take one entire Friday and you just knock them all out and then you schedule them in the future? Because I know when I'm trying to write the blog posts, it takes forever, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is due at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, and it is now 1:15, and I've got 2 paragraphs.
I was going to say, I'm sure we could have a whole chat on just blog writing strategies and tactics. So one of the next things I wanted to get into, which has been really paramount at Hero Conference this year, is attribution modeling and just attribution as a whole. So I know it's kind of one of those topics that everyone cringes about a little bit, and no one exactly knows how to perfect it. But I want to know how you guys go about attribution modeling and what your thoughts are there to really get the ideal model, or at least close to the ideal model that clients will appreciate.
Well, whatever you're doing now is wrong, and whatever you're gonna try is gonna be wrong, and whatever you're trying next is also gonna be wrong. But the goal is to just be as unwrong as possible. You think about it, I mean, like, we're kind of spoiled in that we say we can attribute literally everything that we do, but we can't. Like, we see these little conversion numbers, but we don't really know if we did it or if something else influenced it first. So attribution is gonna be a guessing game, so you just have to kind of keep on iterating and trying different things. I personally like to do a last click preferred. So kind of a reverse time decay. So the first click gets a little credit, and the second click gets a little bit more, third click gets a lot, and then the last one gets the most. It still favors brand a lot, and it gives credit to some of those top performing ones. Generally, from what I've seen in attribution, we don't have to worry too much about other channels for search. People stay in search, people stay in paid or organic. They don't usually jump between the two. They might go into search, but they won't like search on a branded term and then go to a display ad and then like maybe go, whoops, organic search. Like they're definitely pay. You see like me disagree.
I've seen every channel under the sun. I think the one I see most often though is if you're in e-commerce or you're selling something, it's paid search followed by affiliate directly after where they're going for the coupon code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's okay, so are we offering based on your attribution model, are you essentially saying you're willing to pay more for the last click if it's an affiliate where they've already come, they found the credit, they're in the cart, and they're just trying to find that 20% discount you can get off of the affiliates.
Yeah. I was gonna say, or and paid search, then direct. Once they go to brand and go there directly.
That's what I've seen, yeah, but we see a lot of either between organically or through paid coming back directly, and sometimes multiple times, and you can see, you know, with B2B or e-commerce, they're still window shopping, even if you can't actually sell the service, they're still looking at it for the best deal possible.
With the analytics solution, that's where I love Google Analytics, is that you can actually play with the attribution model, see what happens if you do first click, what happens if you do last click preferred. You can upload your own models, which I worked at a company that had an interesting model. They took out they took out brand and they took out SEO from the funnel and said, we're just not gonna give them attribution unless they're the absolute last click every time. If they were the first click and the last click, they get the attribution across the board. Otherwise, we're gonna pull it out and look at the paid channels. Because we wanna see across the paid channels where we're already paying for those users, and how do we do that attribution then where we're already paying? And then we would try to figure out how do we attribute the cost coming back. So instead of just being that last touch, you actually go back and say, we did branded and non-branded paid, and said, okay, we have an average CPC for each. If it touched non-branded 5 times and branded twice, we're gonna actually take that cost into consideration when we calculate the return on that.
That's part of, for me, like,
That's fun.
I still feel like I'm trying to figure out, especially like reporting to clients, like how do you, so like I work with basically small, medium sized businesses. And so I don't know, I think there's even a little bit more of this laser focus on like, I want to know exactly what's converting and exactly what I spent, you know, and exactly what my return investment, and you know, there's some fudging in terms, not in like making it up, but obviously there's gonna be a little bit of difference in that. Once you start bringing attribution models into it, then all of a sudden you're getting into this much more estimation type stuff. So like, how do you do that well, especially to smaller clients?
Well, I think it's something too where all clients to a certain extent need to recognize that there is some sort of attribution. I certainly understand that some clients are more focused on the last click and want to know, you know, what that last click ROI is directly, and that's fine. But there needs to be some acceptance that there's going to be different attribution, especially because if, you know, there's an area in paid search that may not be working last click, but it's working to maybe drive, yeah, exactly. So that can't be removed. Yeah.
Larry Kim actually in his presentation yesterday had a great slide when he was talking about remarketing, and it was if you're only ever remarketing to people who've already been to your site, at some point you're not remarketing to anyone, or like you're not bringing any new users to the site. It goes back to attribution.
So
get the new users.
yeah, absolutely. Next topic was very big the week before Hero Conference. Mentioned mobile cannon.
I was waiting for it.
Mobile cannon. So I want to get your guys' opinions on. Right now, obviously, it's only applied to organic search, and it's part of the we'll be coming to that. Only part of the organic algorithm, but how's it going to impact paid search? And Kurt, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially if these ad tests go through, they're actually showing It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I think it will affect user to see this little mobile friendly. And if it's gonna in some way affect their mindset, that is gonna affect their action. So that will affect things like click-through rate, stuff like that. So even if it's not gonna be part of the algorithm of, let's say, quality score, I mean, it will be in one sense, just by the fact that users are changing the way they're.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's kind of built into what we do already. If the users hate your landing page, then they'll leave.
Yeah.
So if they go to your mobile site and it's super fat and you have a 15-item form, like, of course it's not gonna work. So I don't think we need or should expect a thing like quote unquote mobile again, because it's kind of fundamentally already baked into what we do. If we suck at what we do, then people leave and we don't get returned. So we're fundamentally trained to have a good mobile experience. Now, granted, we are all horrible at it, but I'm speaking on later on mobile and how to be good at it. So I won't go too into it. But in general, I think we frustrate users because they have a really immediate need when they're on the phone. Like they search for something they need right away, or they're bored, or they're just killing time. But either way, they're going to be really, really impulsive, and we try to mimic the desktop experience, which is a little more research focused, a little bit heavier. We try to mimic that experience, and it just frustrates people. But instead, we should just know that like they want something now, give it to them, and then you're done, and pray money.
We were laughing at a lot of like the fear blogs out there and the panic, of all this. And I was like, well, I don't know why you have to be mad that Google's actually trying to have you have a better experience for your users. So it's like, you shouldn't be angry that you're making your website better for people to use. So I think it's a great change. I won't knock Google for doing it at all, because it will help you to have an experience that's great on any device.
You can't just keep making fun.
Yeah.
You have 8-inch phones now. My pockets aren't that big.
Exactly.
Look, it's a 12-inch phone. But the one thing I would say is, where I think a lot of businesses I've talked to have been upset is now they have to readjust their entire roadmap for what they're planning on from a tech standpoint. If mobile hadn't been the focus for this quarter or next quarter, and it is tough when you're a small or medium-sized business and you haven't put the investments in there. But from a research standpoint,
I don't have a terrible amount of sympathy though, because some of us have been I have been telling people, clients or whatever, like basically showing analytics reports of like, this is what your mobile traffic is doing, and it's coming.
It's not like the movement is new. I mean,
Right.
it's been the year of mobile for
Yeah,
6-7
5
years. So,
Exactly.
if you haven't gotten your mobile site by now, it's like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the thing too for a lot of small businesses, they hear the dirty R word, and they're very much responsive. Like, oh, we have to remake our entire site so it's just all the different screens. Like, no, you can make like a little 2-page site that says, hey, here's a phone number, call us. And that's a good mobile site because that's what people want. You don't have to rebuild everything from the ground up. In fact, I would encourage you not to do that. Because I hate responsive.
So we have about 7-8 minutes left, and really what I want to get into in the end session here is kind of the new PPC models and new areas of growth for PPC. So I think at this point, many advertisers have almost exhausted Google and Bing, and to a certain extent, remarketing and display. Really, where we've seen growth and where the next frontier is the social aspect, whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, Yahoo Gemini, and Elizabeth Marston and Heather Cohen had a great presentation yesterday. But where are you guys going on social, and how are you integrating this with your clients?
From B2B standpoint, LinkedIn has been actually pretty good for us. Surprisingly seeing very good results just because the targeting is crazy. Internally, what we do for our own agency, wrote a blog, what every CEO should know about digital marketing. And then we're targeting all the industrial CEOs in the state of Wisconsin, and we're seeing great return from that. We have a realtor company too, where we're testing remarketing for their app downloads, and we can actually, with Twitter, we can use Google Tag Manager to set up the Twitter conversion code, and then I can create as many rules as I want from that one conversion tracking code, and just to have a nice image ad and more text, more than my limited characters and AdWords that I can do, and just to really connect with your brand and really get into the heart of people. I think it's much easier to do on social media, and we're seeing great results from that.
I'm a huge Facebook fan. Their first quarter earnings just came out. They're basically they're as big as Google now. They are not small, and it is all on our gear and mobile. I read a study from Pew, which is a Philly research company, and they're In third world and developing countries, there are more people that have access to Facebook than maybe the internet because people are so conditioned to use it. So Facebook's not going anywhere. It's huge. They give us so much targeting data, but I think what a lot of people do wrong or miss out on is they miss out on a lot of the exclusions. So a ton of Facebook's audience, 13 to 18-year-olds or 55 and older, or people who don't have a lot of money, you can really easily exclude those at Facebook where you can't in search. It's a really, really great way to hone in on your audience, but nobody does it. So I love Facebook. Pinterest, I'm excited about. I hate it right now. It's horrible and you can't do anything, but I'm excited about it to get better.
It's horrible on the user side.
Sorry, I didn't want you to buy. I really want you to buy Persons
Damn
choice.
you, Pinterest. No. I don't know, I'd say a paid social is sort of where you can acquire these. I love the audience targeting. What we see with our paid social team, they are doing the excludes. They're doing the audience targeting, and then I'm fingers crossed and hoping that as Bing relaunches their remarketing, that we'll be able to take that first and third party data and help it for search. And so we can start to say, okay, here's the audience on these paid social channels, and we bring them into search and then use them for ROSA campaigns to say, okay, this is the right audience, let's target our message. Because I focus on search. So I want to use it.
I guess I'm the PPC dinosaur because I pretty much right now focus just on AdWords Bing. Some of that is purposeful because I'm independent, so I only have so much time in the day. And I kind of use that as a sales thing actually for clients, for prospects, where I'm like, hey, I'm laser focused on this. This is what I try to do well. But I think it's in the back of my mind, like as I go and grow, maybe adding then maybe an individual that can come on and then focus on that, and we can build that into some funds for that. But right now, I just do my thing with search and display.
Right. And I think there's certain ways you can take baby steps into social PPC. I mean, there's, I guess whether you define it as remarketing or social PPC, but the Facebook remarketing, Twitter retargeting, and so forth are ways to just kind of gradually pay a feed in there. So we're almost out of time here, but the final question I'd like to ask you guys is really your key takeaway so far from Hero Conference.
Number one, never fly Spirit. You have to go to Target and buy a shirt that is an extra medium. But I think in general, what I found from all the Hero Confs is that the networking is the most important thing for me. I mean, meeting all of you guys in person, where I've met you already, but I haven't met you two in person. Networking is the best, and it kind of reinforces what a strong, tight-knit industry we have, and how much everyone kind of looks out for each other, and how much knowledge people are willing to share, as opposed to in the finance industry or wherever else it may be, or probably not accounting. But anywhere else where all SEO, where all the secrets are really closely guarded. Whereas here, we kind of want everyone to win, because when we all win, the whole industry grows. We all know. Absolutely.
Trying to think on the session side, there were so many good sessions yesterday. I think that's the hard part, is they're great sessions. I like to go to sessions of things I don't actually do. So I'm similar. I don't actually run paid social. I know enough about it. So I sat in on Heather and Elizabeth's session yesterday on the paid social side. And it's just interesting to see what's happening in that paid social space, because it will eventually impact us on the paid search side. So I think one of the takeaways I had is to spend time going outside of your paid search funnel into other channels, other tactics, because the more you know, the more it'll actually help you with your paid search. And then on your side for networking, don't hide in your room. We know who you are.
Appreciate your avatar.
Yeah. We don't know who you are because we can't find you, but we know that you're here. So come out, come talk to us. That's where you get value.
Yeah, this is my first Hero Conference, and I think I would echo what Aaron said. I mean, the workshops and sessions are great, but I just found a lot of value in just these kind of conversations. And kind of even off the public Twitter, it's just easier to really connect and really ask questions back and forth and really learn from each other. It's really
You can pace all your answers, to actually meet everyone that you talk to online. And, it's the same thing. It's, you have a question, we can toss it out there on PPC chat, and somebody's going to respond that way and actually connect with these people. I just try to describe what I do to users in the community that we have, and do what you do. It's fun, and we get to actually love our jobs and actually meet here and learn anything beyond that industry is a great experience.
I would say that I think my biggest takeaway is there's some really good donuts here. Yeah.
And
No,
beer.
Philly is
Beer.
very
And good beer.
So, yeah, I mean, but all kidding aside, I think the biggest takeaway is just speakers who present topics in a different framework. Aaron, to your point earlier, it's all the same stuff to a certain extent, but presenting new ideas about various topics and making you really think about, I can try it this way and let's try that route. Well, so we're ending our time here, but I'd like to thank all you guys. Thanks, Aaron, Christy, Kirk, and Joe for attending our live PPC chat at HeroConf. Hopefully, we'll see you guys here next year for the 2016 version. So thank you, everyone.